Hello, friends. This is John Klein, third of episode 181 of Shadow and Flame of Magic, your premier podcast starring Kitty Pryde, Lockheed, and Magic. And happy Father's Day to all the fathers in the world. I had a pretty great Father's Day. We went to see Lilo and Stitch, which I don't know. I was told there was a bunch of controversy, and I haven't looked it up, but I thought there was going to be like pivots and you know turns, and I was just like, it just seemed like a faithful adaptation to me. But um, so good. Got great presents. I got the X-23 from Wolverine Deadpool Funko. So that was pretty great, and a fun water X-Men water bottle with some stickers I'm never going to apply because I'm a big nerd. And a fun Wolverine mug, which I was like, oh man, Father's Day brought to you by GameStop. But if you're gonna have Father's Day, might as well get it sponsored by GameStop, right? And so today we're gonna review X-Men, Exceptional X-Men 10, deep dive into Venomized #1 in honor of our Iron Heart event month. Magic 6, and then we're gonna review quickly the other comics of the week. So let's get into Exceptional X-Men #10. Dur, 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 dur. And I admit now, and I did write a post about this on my website, Shadow and Flame with Magic, which turns 12 on June 30th. So I'm already working on my year anniversary post. Um, and so this is brought to us by Eve L. Ewing. I'm pretty sure it's Dr. Ewing too. Artist Carmen Carnero. And then we get a fun telepathic sequence done by Federicia Manson. Color artist Nolan Woodward for both artists, and letter VC's Travis Lantham. The issue opens up with Emma inside Sinister's mindscape, and she's wearing a very fun Sinister themed dress. It's all in black with a red diamond on her belly. We get a great panel done by Carnero, and where it's from New Mutants 15, where she has Kitty Pryde captured because she tricked Doug into coming to the Massachusetts Academy. It's also why she's not involved in the original Secret Wars. Meanwhile, the Exceptional X-Men team is trying to wake Emma up because she's passed out. Oh, I was leading up to this and then I got distracted. This is gonna go down as one of my favorite comics of the year. Like it's definitely a lock for top 10, and depending on what happens in the next issues after 11, I can only imagine one or two scenarios that tops it. But I mean, Exceptional X-Men 10, go get it. Oh, and spoilers for Exceptional X-Men 10 and all the comics we're going to discuss. Exo's feeling very bad as he is under the impression Emma sacrificed everything to rescue him, and he wants to go back in. They are X-Men, so they're going to make the play. Emma's talking to a 10-year-old Sinister, or maybe more like 12. Once you have a kid, um, and my kid Walker D's an amazing young man, but now that he's 11, it really makes you recognize, like, oh, I can gauge other people's kids. Especially like once you have a baby and you see like babies give birth in like a sitcom, like in TV or movies, and you're like, oh, that kid is clearly 8 months old. Like that's not a newborn baby. And then I can never help but have that thought. But this kid's clearly 13, maybe 13 and a half. And you just see it cute, and he's rambunctious, but he's also very much sinister at 12, where he is just making dark comments and how he enjoys vivisections and autopsies. And then we see Axel is back in the mindscape. Emma is very upset with him as he is, and he's very dapper himself. But Emma's like, "Hey, I sacrificed myself to rescue you. It's rude that you came back." Which reminds me of Top Gun Maverick, where I was like, you should not have came back for him. Like, now you're both gonna die." Spoilers for Top Gun Maverick. And so Kitty's trying to figure out what to do with Axel, but they get distracted by a bunch of clone Sabretooths. Because if one thing Sinister loves is making not direct clones, but clones inspired by you, which will make me concerned about a reveal later in the issue. But the exceptional people are all fighting, fight, fight, fight. And it's Sinister's, mock birthday, and Axel finds a elephant puppet named Eleanor, and then Sinister just chooses to give up everything to get Eleanor out of Axel's grip, and then that makes um gives an opportunity for Emma and Axel to escape back into, the proper world. But since they're all awake, Sinister is also awake, and so now they gotta take him down in a classic Claremont Care Bear stare. All their powers combined, they take Sinister down. Or not down, but he explodes, putting goo on all of them, which makes them question if that was even really Sinister. And then Kitty Pryde says, "Yeah, you never know what." And then we get, oh no, it's not a dramatic page turn, but or who this goon has stashed away. And we see that for whatever reason, in one of these um test tubes, or whatever you call a human-sized test tube, perhaps you call it a human-sized test tube. We see he had a dragon-sized test tube, and Lockheed is here. And I was so excited. Um, as I've said many episodes ago, I ran for school board trustee to try to not just keep my son's school open, which he graduated, so stakes were a little lower, but keep all the faculty's people's jobs and the other students um, able to enroll. But the Tuesday, literally the day he graduated from his school, the school board elected to, or voted, I should say, to shut it down. And so now my wife's out of a job, which is highly disappointing. Invested, and I was pretty, transparent. Of like, let's not do this. Um, so that was a Tuesday night. Wednesday, new comic book day. Just enjoying all the comics. And last page reveal, exceptional X-Men 10, Loki's back. I do worry, though, since it's a sinister situation and he made fake Sabretooth, and he himself was a fake. Could this Loki be a fake as well to trick Kitty to reveal all their secrets around Loki? Who's just gonna double agent it like he was from Josh Whedon and John Cassiday's Astonishing X-Men run? Perhaps that's a concern of mine. My guard is very much up and I don't want to get hurt again. But for now, we got Lockheed back, and I'm hoping, and it also explains why he was on the cover of House of M, Giant Size House of M, and Giant Size X-Men 2. Not the original issue 2, but this new 2025 issue 2. It's very complicated. And, um, but he's on the covers of those, which at least House of M, Giant Size. Well, we never saw him in that timeline, but made it to the cover. But yeah, him in Exceptional X-Men suited Kitty Pryde and Lockheed on the cover. I was like, hey, this is great. But it turns out we didn't have to wait until then. We have him back now. And then if you go to shadowandflameofmagic.com, which I recommend you do, once they announce the creative teams and the cast for each title, I immediately found Carmen Carnero um on Twitter to say, like, hey, congrats on the title. I'm super looking forward to it. How's your dragon skill drawing skills? And then she responded with like zip mouth shut and then a winky face, which, back in April 2024, I was like, cool. And also I promised not to bug her about being a Lockheed fan. And a year and a couple months later, her dragon skills are phenomenal. But I was able to find that post on Twitter and include it in my review. And which I thought might be a little complicated to find on Twitter, but oh, it came up pretty relatively easily. So I was like, well, once I found that tweet, I was like, I'm gonna write this article. And just I love this issue so much. I did claim I was gonna buy all the because I got the Kitty Pride variant cover, which has Lockheed on it, which is fun. It's like a graffiti on the wall. But the other cover, the traditional cover by Carnero, is the Sinister and Emma. And I want to say the other variant is also Emma focused. And so I'm like, oh, I sort of don't want the other cover. But definitely you're going to want these other covers. I know Exceptional X-Men 13 is getting a Kitty Pryde and Lockheed Alex Ross style cover. And so I'm going to want to get that cover. Though I also wanted the Russell Dauterman Magic 8 cover of all the suits, and that DCBS already wants $35 for it, and the internet pretty much has gone from 60 to $105 for it. So as much as it breaks my heart, I don't think I'm gonna get my hands on that cover. But it's weird though, because the Cyclops X-Men Dauterman cover was literally like 15 bucks, which I didn't want to pay 15, but all the covers were pretty much that expensive. So I was like, all right, I'll get it because my letter got printed in it. So I was like, well, I gotta get a copy of it. Like, good job, Marvel. You print my letter. I'm gonna buy your comic. Um, and so, which you imagine if they did that marketing idea for everyone, it would probably work, right? I don't know. I got trailed off in the thought there. But so I got the cover I wanted, and I do have to say the Daughterman Magic 8 cover is a 1 in 25. So I understand, like, yeah, if you had to buy 25 copies of Magic 8 to get the one Daughterman cover, then yeah, you want to spend, what's 5 times 25? You do the math. It's like, what, 125? I try to do the math quickly. I was like, all right, I think that's right. But anyways, I'm not going to spend 125, but arguably, that's what you got to do. And so, but I did get lucky that Marcus Toad Lockheed cover Wolverine X and Kitty Pride won. So I'm hoping someone will eventually be like, oh yeah, just start the bids at $5 and then go up to 20 and they'll be like, all right, like, too rich for my blood. Um anyway, so that's just my anxiety just being like, well, there goes that possibility. And now they make a Kitty Pride one. Am I gonna be not able to get that one? But like daggers to my heart. But Lockheed's back. I'm excited about the possibilities of this, and I'm just so happy he's back, and it's all I've been wanting in comics. Um, so yeah, you should definitely get that issue. And now let's get into our Ironheart comic, Venomized #1. Doo-doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo. Venomized #1. And so you can follow along with me with my through my TikTok and YouTube channels, Jackal SIII, as I review. I went through the issues, and like I do every weekend, I have a um where I pretty much read the comic along with you, and then I also just literally post the pages or panels of Kitty Pride or Magic or Lockheed. Irritating. I didn't just say in the order of Kitty, Lockheed, and Magic. You think all my branding will help with that? I got the awesome variant cover by Gabriel Del Otto that has Venom crawling down a wall, which I really want to use my comic shop's eBay one to get more comics. The summers are notoriously tight for us, but uh, hopefully come October, I can start treating myself to monthly comics and, you know, including shipping, stop at a reasonable $20 and then see what start chipping away at my wish list. And that'd be nice for me. And this comic came out in June 2018, which means we get a nice recap page. This is written by Colin Bunn, artist Ibun Colello, color artist Matt Yaki, and letter VC's Joe Caramagna. And full disclosure, when I was trying to make up, because digital comics are a thing and Marvel Unlimited, I was like, let me go through all the Kitty Pride, Lockheed, Magic appearances I missed out on that I slowly listened to through podcasts to try to keep up. And so when I got to this, I was like, I do not get this. Like, like I like Spider-Man and Venom. I had a whole heyday in the 90s, but since then I've been like, X-Men, Mutant and Proud. And so I lost sort of touch of, Venom. But in case you have as well, here we go. Venomized. Recently, Eddie Brock was teleported to another dimension and came face to face with the Poisons, a species that travels the multiverse harvesting symbiotes and consuming their superhuman hosts. After destroying the poison threat and returning to his native reality, Venom was kidnapped by the X-Men, who needed his help rescuing Cyclops' father from a gang of spacefaring mercenaries, all bonded with alien symbiotes. But in the midst of rescue, Venom and the X-Men were attacked by a new contingent of poisons, alive and deadlier than ever. In the ensuing battle, the poisons consumed not only the bounty hunters, but Jean Grey as well. Suddenly, outnumbered and outgunned, Venom and the X-Men retreated back to Earth, hoping to warn the planet of the poison threat. Note: the events of Venomized take place before the death of the mighty Thor. So, guess who's going to show up in this issue? Um, and it is a fun exercise for Ivan Kalelo to design all these fun symbiote covered heroes. The Xavier Institute for Mutant Education Outreach, Central Park, New York. And we see Eye-Boy Bling, and they're noticing X-Force is walking up, but something's not right as one of them shoots Eye-Boy, and we see he's covered in blood, but it's not blood, it's just a red symbiote. And X-Force is Cable, Phantomex, Domino, A, Wolverine, and perhaps Laura Wolverine. And then we cut to inside the mansion as Kitty's like, "What the hell is going on out?" And then we see the symbiote Force X. Oh, I was trying to come up with a fun name, but they're just blasting all the mutants as they can. And Kitty's like, "No, you're going to be all right. We're going to get help." And she's just covered in a green goo. And then X-Men Gold show up of Colossus, Nightcrawler, and Old Man Logan, which makes me think the other one is Akihiro, maybe? And so they're just fighting. Domino shoots Nightcrawler with a symbiote. Old Man Logan gets hit. Colossus jumps in front of Kitty. And she's like, "But why? Why are they attacking us with symbiotes?" And then Colossus, the big dope, he didn't need his protection. They can't hit him, but now he's covered in the symbiotes. But for a reason, they're not trying to kill Kitty or fight Kitty. They're just standing still. And she's like, "Yeah, Pete, you can say that again." And then we get the recap page. New York City, drunk Hercules and mighty Jane Thorster are just walking out of a Irish pub. And then Jane Forster gets hit with the symbiote, so she's not dead yet. They did get Hawkeye, we see. And then Spider-Man is getting involved. We see the Punisher got symbioted. I mean, literally, the series is called Venomized. You think I'll just use the term, right? And then he gets Venomized, and it's the classic black and white Spider-Man suit, because what else would it be? Um, we see the Vulture has been Venomized as he chases Nova, the Sam one, I believe. Um, Jessica Jones, Daredevil, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist, who's in purple and gold, are fighting out Venomized people. Iron Man goes down by the hands of Scorpion, perhaps, if I can tell by his tail. Vision phases through something, but someone else gets venomized. We see Storm get venomized. Spider-Man's trying to fight back. Approaching Earth, we see um, X-Men Blue. So it's young Scott, young Bobby, young Angel, Jimmy Hudson, a young Beast, and Venom, Eddie Brock Venom. And they're just, oh, Jimmy Hudson's on Earth warning them that the symbiotes have venomized people. And then we see Thanos, who's venomized, talking to perhaps Doctor Doom. I don't think we see his face. Oh, yeah, yeah, it's definitely Doctor Doom, who's also venomized. And Doom saying our operations are proceeding as planned. We have launched a number of simultaneous strikes, and while we have not attained a 100% infection rate, we have prepared many of our prime targets as well as dozens of others. And we see their target board, and we see Spider-Man's Venomized, Hercules, Nightcrawler, Old Man Logan, Storm, Jane Thorster, Amadeus Cho Hulk, and then lit faces is Wanda, Kitty Pryde. Oh, maybe this is Amadeus Hulk. Captain America, a gal, who I would say Kitty Pryde was a gal, but I see her yellow collar, so we know that's her. Doctor Strange, Magneto, another gal, and another guy. Oh, what did we? Our success rate will, as we have seen on other wars, increase exponentially as more weapons are added to the hive. And then we see a ghost lady who's actually Death is held prisoner. Spider-Man is web swinging, trying to figure out where he's trying to go. He gets to a bell tower, and the symbiotes, um, you know, freaking out due to the loud sound. But he passes out, and as the symbiotes, irritated but not leaving his body. So good idea. Ravenclaw Institute for the Criminally Insane, and we see Morbius, Lady Deathstrike, one other person are looking for someone, and that person they're looking for is Cletus Cassidy, but they're only looking for him because he's the host for the Carnage symbiote. There's an ad here for Amazing Spider-Man 800 coming up. I should have mentioned earlier there was an ad leading up to X-Men Go 30, the wedding issue. I wonder if that works out. Spider-Man comes to his senses and he's chasing Venomized Jane Thorster. And we catch up to the Xavier Institute that's in Central Park, and Captain America says, but there were dozens of other attacks occurring within minutes. Most of the attacks were centralized around New York, but there were similar events in other parts of the world. And after multiple Avengers and the X-Men have been targeted, well, I hope you don't mind a little extra company, Miss Pride, because we need to start coordinating and fast. She says, it doesn't make any sense. They cut us hard, came out of nowhere, and I don't like thinking it, but they could have torn through the entire school. We weren't doing much to slow them down. And so we see the gathered heroes is Captain America, Miss Marvel, Nova, who I believe is Venomized, Thing, Ben Grimm, who's Venomized, Ironheart, which I remember to mention in the video, who's safe, Kitty Pryde, who's safe, Vision, who's safe, Old Man Logan, who's Venomized, another guy who is Venomized, a gal who's Storm, Venomized Storm, and Venomized Nightcrawler. But they didn't kill anyone. They didn't even hurt anyone. They just hit as many of us as they could with these symbiotes, like Venom, Cap says. I suppose so. There's an entire planet full of them out in space. And Ben Grimm saying that he feels super strong. And Miss Marvel says, so what are we dealing with here? You adults are the ones with the database and contingency plans. I'm sure you already know what's going on, so why not just tell us? And Cap says, I wish I had answers for you, Miss Marvel. I really do, but I'm afraid. We're flying here blind. And we see X-Men Blue and Venom coming, like they're in Earth's orbit, but they're being immediately attacked by Venom, Jane Thorster, Hercules, who's like a mostly green symbiote with yellow piping, Spider-Man shows up to help. Oh no, no, it's Venom who helps. You can tell by those broad shoulders. And Magneto brought Bloodstorm and Jimmy Hudson and Polaris. And then they try to update Spider-Man, who's now on the scene. Thanos and Doctor Doom are talking about how they got Cassidy locked in prison, and they're trying to force the symbiote out of him, and it seems like they're mostly in success. And to be continued. And don't miss the next chapter in this Venomized saga on sale in only 7 days. So head down to your local comic shop on April 11th to get your hands on Venomized 2. In the meantime, don't forget to send your notes to the Spidey office. So we know who's running this, which should have been pretty obvious. And then I'll pick four images to put on the podcast socials at SNFWM, which right now consists of Twitter, Blue Sky, and Instagram. Because oh, dad doesn't really have time for other social media platforms. So let's get into Magic Stick next. Na, 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 na. So Magic Sticks was great, and I want to say like every other month we get Magic and Exceptional X-Men out on the same day, which I'm always like, come on, don't make me choose two of my darlings. As for my money, those are the top two titles every month, and then Psylocke is always in my top five. And then I guess X-Men by default of Magic shows up is in there. And then Uncanny, yeah, that's five, right? Yeah. And this issue reunites our Ashley Allen with the artist from Blood Hunt Magic that got us the Magic ongoing series. And this issue is so great that I want those two to pair up for a Madeline Pryor ongoing series. As Madeline Pryor, her Limbo embassy explodes as there's an uprising in Limbo. Magic immediately hears about it and goes to help out Madeline. Madeline's immediately like, I don't need your help. This makes it look like I'm weak in front of the Limbo Aryans, the people of Limbo. And but Magic's like, well, I'm here to help, so whatever it takes. And so Madeline agrees with it because she is working, and she wants us to call her Madeline when she's working, which is easy enough. And we see the head of the demon horde grabs a sword and but doesn't name it, which reminds me. And then Ileana mentions how names are important in Limbo, which reminds me of Amanda Sefton, Magic 2, and how she went by the title Magic because that name had power in Limbo. And now I'm like, well, once again, he's literally been in that hell dimension for 12 of our years. Like, can we not be going after her, please? And like, pretty please, please save Amanda Sefton. And Ileana's full of snark here because that's just her defense and how she shows strength. And Madeline's finally like, "Hey, I'm getting tired of this. Like, does Cyclops just let you keep doing this?" Which I like because it's never like my ex-husband Cyclops. It's just literally like I know Cyclops is the team leader, right? You think he would have you dial it back, but she doesn't know how Scott and Ileana are like the best of friends. Like they're top tier friendships, like up there with Kurt and Kitty and Ileana, of course, Katyana. Um, I don't even know why I started naming friendships, but pretty much Kitty. Storm is another great one. Ileana and Danny and Rain. I think that's enough, right? You're probably shouting right now, like you didn't say, and then that's where you said your thing, and I'm like, yeah, you're right, pal. Should have named that one. Thank you. So Ileana grabs that sword at one point that the demon created and calls it the Wrath Sword. And so then she's able to defeat them with it. So she has two swords at one point, which is very cool, especially as a Leonardo guy. If you're gonna have a sword, you might as well have two. Liliana usually just battles with her soul sword, and so that works out for her. Um, Plus who am I to tell Magic how to go into battle? And at one point, Madeline figures out that Ileana was only ever there to work. She's not, because I guess she had the expectation that she failed here, and so Magic was gonna be like roll her eyes and be like, "I'm taking Limbo back. Come on, you're not worthy of this." But no, she just wants to be supportive. She promises she will be back and to continue assisting her whenever she needs it. But she recognizes that she needs to look strong, so. And Madeline implies too that she's been working so hard with like the United Nations to make the Limbo Embassy recognized. So she hasn't been spending too much time in Limbo, which seems not the ideal battle plan or, agenda, but if I was leader of Limbo, I probably just wanted to run, you know, on autopilot, but that's not Limbo for them. So let's get into the rest of the books of last week. Deadpool. Deadpool. Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe one last time, issue 3. If you've been waiting for the X-Men issue, which I have been, this is it. Um, Deadpool has killed some people, but he comes across the X-Men that is a dark child. Wolverine from that famous What If issue of Inferno wasn't stopped and infamously eats that baby. Nightcrawler from the Secret Wars Inferno, where he's that Banff creature. Havoc, but not in his Goblin Prince outfit. And Deadpool pretty much right, is talking to all of them and then decides to kill them all, but he spares Darkchild because he needs something from Limbo. And he's pretty much like complimentary of her, so she's just like, you know what, you're right. Like it's fine. And it takes him to Limbo, and then he kills her there, right when her guard's down, because he's talking about friendship. And it's like, oh, Ileana's so desperate for a kind word in the storm that is Limbo and her, hellish life. And he just kills her. Where I'm like, come on. And then the rest of the issues, like he does nonsense, and the next issue promises to be an Avengers focus issue, which I'm like, sure, if that's what you need to do. We get giant-sized Dark Phoenix Saga, which seems to try to complicate the is Jean the Phoenix, is the Phoenix Jean, like what is the issue? And at one point, the Phoenix Force leaves Jean's body to hop over to the vacant Legion body. Um, and then he goes and explodes a second stun. So I'm like, so we're adding to the Dark Phoenix saga. Miss Marvel hangs out with Jean Grey, who's, Marvel girl, so that's always fun to have as many Marvels in a room. If we get more into Jean's psyche about her torment about the Dark Phoenix and everything's doing, she has a moment to breathe. Because it's the Dark Phoenix saga, and we sort of need this to end the way it needs to. Legion Phoenix goes to the blue area of the moon. Unfortunately, we do not get a moment where it's the X-Men versus the Imperial Guard, and so we get all those quiet moments with the X-Men before the battle. Like it's sort of like, hey, we gotta get to the dark area of the moon, and they just go team up with the Imperial Guard and fight. So I'm like, oh man, I miss that we don't have those segments in the continuity anymore. If continuity is even a concern anyone wants to have, or is it just going to rubber band back correctly? Or this is the continuity, but we never talk about it, so just have fun with it. I think those are the three scenarios. And Jean takes back the Phoenix. He decides to, eliminate herself. And Miss Marvel and the Legion shall go into the Age of Apocalypse because they try to go into the future, but he goes to the future and to the right and Age of Apocalypse, which the creative team, the Hive Mind, has shared that it takes place during the night before X-Men Omega, which means Shadowcat should be there. And we'll see just any extra content because usually all these Age of Apocalypse celebration events Cat's never around unless she's a gravestone or a flashback panel. So I'm really hoping we get some proper content with her. And maybe Kid Ileana. That'd be nice. Uh, oh, and then we get Marvel United Pride, the 2025 special. And it has three main stories. One by Zoe Turnell, which was amazing with Black Cat. One with Dr. Anthony Oliveira. That was pretty great. Al Ewing had a fun story. But my favorite was The Goodnight Blue Rose by Wyatt Kennedy. Story, pencils and ink by Bailey Underwood. And Irma Canavlia, which was the Mystique dream sequence. She's spinning, or she's with Destiny, and then allows herself a daydream involving Nightcrawler, like as a spunky 12-year-old, and he's upset that he's being homeschooled while Rogue gets to go have proper school, but he's trying to be a pirate because he's a swashbuckler, and Mystique plays along with him. And it's just fun because, last year's Pride was the wedding of Destiny and Mystique, vows renewals. And so it's just nice, like, yeah, it's like a continuation of just Mystique and Destiny, or, you know, Pride of the X corner. Um, I'm getting the Lucio variant cover that has Kitty Pryde in her exceptional cover as they homage the Captain America punching Hitler cover. And she's just one of the many people coming for the punch where I'm like, oh, I love this. And all it takes for me, now that we're using DCBS, hashtag not a sponsor, but we'll love a sponsorship. Um, I was like, well, I might as well add it to the list. And but also set the expectations in my head of like, well, Kitty would be in it, right? But I searched high and low and I did not see her. But supportive of the cause and the issue, and it was a pretty great one. So no regrets there. And what else came out last week? Oh, and then One World Under Doom 5, which continues to get better. Magik is in the double page splash showing all the heroes who are assisting Doom fighting Dormammu. He defeats Dormammu. Everyone's like, hey, that spell you used, requires a moment in time to cast. And he's like, well, yes, the moment in time is me victorious. So as long as Doom rules, Dormammu is taken care of, which is the setting like, oh yeah, Doom at one point's not gonna win. But he goes like, thanks heroes, and then disappears, and then Thor has to mention like, are we wrong to keep combating him? Like he seems like he's doing a good job. And the only reason he keeps fighting us is because we keep fighting him, that maybe we just let him rule for a moment, which is what I prefer in a world leader where, I like the idea of the comfort, like, if I forget about you, like the country just runs on autopilot, allegedly, supposedly, and never had to worry about, you know, my student loans, for instance, being threatened now instead of a reasonable $60, now I gotta pay like $90. I'm like, come on. Either fix student loans or let them be, but don't worsen them, as one slight example, but I'm sure you, dear listener, can think of many things that's wrong. Um, So let's look at what comes out next week. It's another full week of comics. X-Men 18, Doom's Division 4 with Karma and Sunspot. X-Men 18 involving the 3K and Wired invading the faculty. So we'll see how complicated that is. Psylocke 8, where she deals, and it feels like a long time since we had Psylocke 7. But she's trying to figure out who's messing with her head. Aliens versus Avengers 4, which issue 3 ended with the X-Men of that future alien battle occurring. And I think I don't know, it comes out every four. I feel like this is a quarterly book, so I'm not even sure this is the final issue. But now the X-Men are involved, so now I want to read more about it. Emma Frost White Queen 1, which is a Hellfire look back retro series, which I'm not super excited about, but sure. Godzilla versus the Avengers, which is the Bendis new Avengers. Jeff the Landshark 1, which I would have sworn came out a while ago, but maybe got delayed and is finally this week. Weapon X-Men 5 by Joe Casey and Chris Cross. West Coast Avengers 8, which I'm sure must still have Wonder Man involved, which doesn't please me, but hopefully Firestar is more involved. And then Wolverine 10, which is just Wolverine dealing with his mommy issues and Sabretooth being involved, so I'm not super excited about that either. But X-Men, Aliens vs. Avengers, Doom's Division, and Psylocke are my top four titles there, so yeah, should be all right. Well, dear listener, thank you so much for listening, and um, I'll talk at you next time. All right, everyone, bye.